Here's the next question. World War II began 80 years ago. This date was commemorated worldwide on September the 1st. Why Trump didn't visit Poland?
Generally speaking, it is obvious. Firstly, Trump already said at the G7 summit in Biarritz that it was sophistry to discuss issues regarding Russia without Russia. There was nothing to do without Russia. That is why Trump says we need to bring Russia back to G7 and extend it again to G8. Everybody agrees. And events of last week show that despite general agreement about Russia's return, every member of G7 is trying to get individual preferences regarding Russia during this process. But no one is ready to return Russia on conditions that Trump announced. So Poland, commanded by the US country elite, has taken a strong anti-Russian position. Why would Trump support that? He didn't. That is why Poland was put on a back burner. But the most important thing here is what and how it all started. Let's look at the beginning. How did it happen? Russia, the United States, Great Britain and France were allies in the anti-Hitler coalition during World War II. None of these countries were present at the commemorative events. But who was present? Also, is Poland really a victim? No. Let's recall that Hitler came to power in 1933. In 1934, Poland started to proactively cooperate with Germany in terms of a potential united military campaign against Russia. But Poland then saw itself exclusively at the head of this process, which means Germany would provide its economic potential and armed forces, and Polish generals would be in command. They wanted to be in charge. They were purposefully groomed against Russia. Poland was re-established in the 20th century as an anti-Russian state. Polish territory was the source of aggression during the whole period between World War I and World War II. Russia was under constant pressure of gangs of White Guards, Polish Secret Service, and even military forces, border security forces in particular. Poland was the driving force of organizing aggression against the Soviet Union, against Russia. Poland was very, very convenient in this regard. But Poland as a state, as a tool of global politics, was not up to the challenge, and that was proved by the whole history of Poland. Poland is an absolutely artificial, engineered state. It was created to conduct concentrated governance over Slavic lands. If I am not mistaken, this issue was discussed in one of our two articles, State or War. I'm not sure which one exactly. Both of them interrelate, and it is one subject in essence. They will be united in a future edition, but for now they are two separate articles. So Poland failed with the assigned task and was disassembled. There were three partitions of Poland, and it didn't exist as a country. In the 20th century, however, Poland was recreated with external crutches to support it as a state. But the Polish elite, always infamously arrogant, went off the rails. They thought that Poland was a sovereign country and that they were almighty. In reality, it is absolutely not the case. Remove external crutches and the Polish state will collapse without any effort. What was the purpose of all of it? Because the Slavs should fight against the Slavs. And then the following thing happened. Germany was groomed to be a subject of the global action and to be finally destroyed in the course of that action. World War I and World War II are the two stages of the same war. After World War I, all thoughtful generals understood. A huge number of memoirs show it, that the war was not finished. There would be 20 years of repose and a new war after that. And in principle, another war should have begun in 20 years. If we start counting 20 years from 1917, when Russia exited World War I, and the war began to fade out, then World War II should have started sometime in 1937. World War II began in 1939, even though everything was ready for World War II in 1936. The trigger point was supposed to be the Spanish Revolution in 1931. By 1936, it became apparent that the Soviet Union would get involved, and it did. But Stalin managed to handle the situation, but avoided being tied up in the war. What kind of strike was planned? The strike through the whole of Europe and establishing Soviet power everywhere, as long as bourgeois states refused to help the new state of workers and farmers. That is why the Spanish Revolution was supported by the world's revolutionary communion, and the main military force consisted of international brigades. In the East, in 1931, Japan began an intervention in China, created Manchukuo State, launching pad to attack the Soviet Union, Russia, when the Soviet Union, Russia, will be tied up in Europe. Thus, Russia was supposed to be the firewood in the flames of global socialistic revolution and should have disappeared from the map, just leave a number of small states behind. Stalin understood it and broke that scenario. Then what could the global elite do? If that plan has failed, then Germany must be at the border with Russia. But there is no common border between them. Poland was located mostly between Germany and Russia, which meant control over Poland must be secured. But how to secure Poland? Polish elite are arrogantly foolish and think, we are in charge. That is why those who created this country sentenced Poland to destruction as a state. Look how it was done. In 1938, Poland took part in Czechoslovakia's partition and snatched apartheid, for which Churchill called Poland the hyena of Europe. In fact, this is the World War already. Poland started dismantling another state together with the Third Reich. But Poland was not suited to be an ally, and accordingly it was demolished as a state in 1939. Poland had the potential to make a stand, but the Polish government couldn't use this potential, didn't want to use it, and preferred to escape to London. The end. The Polish state was demolished, and the governor-generalship was established. The result. In 1945, Ludowa army had 300,000 Polish soldiers. It is a maximum number. Approximately the same number was in Andres army and other Polish units in the West. But they grew in numbers only when in 1945 Polish soldiers left SS and Wehrmacht to capitulate to the West, and were saying, "We suffered so much and ready to join Western ranks." Thus 300,000 in the Soviet Armia Ludova, 300,000 in the bourgeois Armia Krajowa, and 1.5 million Polish in Wehrmacht NSS. 1.5 million. So what side was Poland on during the war? Poland is a full-fledged initiator of World War II and a valid party of that war. Let's move on. Ukraine. There was Ukraine, part of the Soviet Union. There is a contemporary souvenir state of Ukraine with the state ideology of Banderism. Bandera followers are loyal servants of the Third Reich and fought enthusiastically against the Red Army on the Third Reich side, and they were led by Hauptsturmführer Shukhevich. Babi Yar, Banderites, Belarusian Hotin, Banderites, Schutzmannschaft Battalion 118, Volhynian Massacre, Banderites, SS Galiciana Division, Banderites. Banderites were everywhere. In fact, contemporary Ukraine represents an active participant in the war from Hitler's coalition side. Thus, Ukraine is the same fascist state. Take a look here. Russia was not invited to the commemorative event in Poland. It is understandable from one side. Russia doesn't want to plead guilty before Poland, which always has a lot of grievances to everybody. No one was invited from Central Asian republics. The Soviet Union broke up into many states, and no one was invited but Ukraine. Why? Because Poland ideologically aligned with Ukraine, and Poland is ready to forgive the Polish massacre. What is the difference? The main issue, it is against Russia. Heads of anti-Hitler coalition countries didn't arrive either. So the only political actors who took part in this commemorative event are the ideological successors of political players that triggered World War II. No one else came, neither Lukashenko nor Pashinyan. There is an interesting situation with Lukashenko. Look, Trump raised the issue that if Russia was not invited to the event involving Russia, World War II and the Great Patriotic War, as part of World War II, involving Russia very much, then what Trump was going to do there? As Trump said in Beatrice, one must be a complete dumb to step on that rake. But Polish are arrogant. They think that they have some state. There is no state. It is an engineered state which will collapse if to take away support existing under it. But they don't understand it. Trump didn't come. Macron didn't come. Johnson didn't come. And what do we have? We have an interesting episode with Pashinyan and Lukashenko. Pashinyan came to power as a bloody clown, and in the end the global elite managed to snatch governance over him. Accordingly, as the global elite don't have any interest to be a part of this Sabbath, then Pashinyan didn't show up. Thus, they managed to conduct a governing maneuver toward Pashinyan, and he didn't come. But Lukashenko will never miss a chance to put a spoke in Russia's wheel and try to make friends in the West. Why didn't he go? Give me a clue. Who did visit Belarus just before Belarus's announcement with refusal to go to that event? Bolton, a special envoy of the President of the USA. Bolton, who said in Ukraine, everything that Volker is saying is a lie. The United States doesn't support that, and everything fell into place. Why did Bolton visit Belarus? What did they talk about? He said, and it is factual, so to speak, to Lukashenko, relax, no one is going to Poland for this event. Whom do you want to be associated with? Losers or us? Also mention that if they didn't invite Russia, then you won't come either. But Lukashenko twisted and turned anyway. Even an information leak in the West was organized to leak those words allegedly said by Lukashenko. But officially, it was announced, well, no one was invited. Well, we have some historic. He did everything to keep a straight face and keep relations for the future with these historic losers. Even if they are losing, but it would be nice to keep relations with them. Alexander Lukashenko will outsmart himself if he keeps dodging. Even Bolton was sent with the message, stay fast, here is the plan. Russia is not invited, and no one will go then. Russia is the key global player, the subject conducting global politics. If some country wants to survive in the future, it has to move towards Russia. It has to look for an agreement with Russia. It has to build relations with Russia and find common ground with Putin. Russia's American lackeys don't understand it. Even the US country elite understands why Putin must be urgently removed. But our American lapdogs, all these crooks that only dream about how to return Russia to the holy 90s, but this time with a one-way ticket to oblivion, they don't understand that in that case nobody will need them anymore. They would throw themselves into nothingness. They don't get it. Here is their circle of life. They steal money in Russia, run to London. In London, they are arrested, the property is being confiscated, they are being killed, but they steal money anyway and run. What did you steal money for? To escape to London. But you are being robbed and killed there. But it is my master. To serve him better, I steal fortune in Russia and bring it to him, to London. Russia's American lapdogs are deranged, simply insane. They understand nothing. You just listen to Shuvalov or Oreshkin, for example, what they are saying regarding issues of governance. Oh, Oreshkin, with his money, he should pay just to stay away from any TV producer. But no, he managed to give an interview to Naila Askirzadeh. Clever cookie. Well done. Who is making you talk, boy? It is unbelievable. Just listen to you. It is simply... But they are all like Oreshkin. All of them. They have no clue. The main thing for them is to lick off master's ass, and their master is an American sahib. Stalin was outsmarting the global elite in many instances. During the whole Russian history, Russia had two time periods when Russia wasn't used in global politics as a tool for someone else's politics. Even during Nicholas I, Russia had to work in a different quality, as someone else's tool. thanks to Alexander I. So, when was Russia working exclusively for Russia's interests, leaving behind political infighting of all Western countries, and Eastern too? When was Russia attracting others as a global subject of global politics? During Stalin's days. And now, during the Putin era. Conclusions are obvious. A global, conceptually powerful subject of governance, Stalin, and a global, conceptually powerful subject of governance, Putin. All these American lackeys should crawl on their bellies to Putin asking for forgiveness. They should stop the law that forbids anti-Nazism and anti-fascist information work. But no, they are an intricate part of it. They are grooming fascism. They are fighting with symbols of the country which destroyed fascism. Well, you are asking for it yourself. Yourself. Having ears, then listen. Having eyes, then see. You don't want to either hear or see. Everyone is a creator of his own destiny. The global elite showed how they deal with ones like you. 1937 to you would look like a happy vacation in comparison. The global elite cut limbs with no mercy. Who do they take pity on? Gaddafi, Libya, Saddam Hussein, Mubarak, Ceausescu, Broz Tito? Whom did they spare? I didn't mention Broz Tito by accident. Even though he died at the peak of his glory, he was abandoned and dumped. The Soviet Union was the only reason why he survived that long, but there is no Soviet Union anymore. So the global elite won't think twice about American lapdogs when the time comes. But those governance processes that American lackeys initiate need to be attended, because those processes are bringing enormous bloodshed. It is the destruction of the Russian state and all multinational population of Russia.